Happy Monday, everybody. It is September 17th, 2018 for your daily CIRF report. I'm Chris McCleary, looking for the biggest collective influence that's going to be affecting the way you think, feel, and behave. And if you're in the influence and you listen to this report, you'll know exactly what to do because we'll talk about how to ride those energies. Today, we got some really cool overlaps between astrology, numerology, and DreamBot. Can't wait to get into that. But just a reminder that on Friday, we did a dream experiment. We made a prediction, and we're going to be talking about the results of that prediction after we get done with the CIRF report. Okay, so hang in there. Let's get started with the astrology. And before I forget, I'd like to point out 17 is assertive and ideal, but also ambitious and practical. Gosh, what does that sound like? It sounds very Capricorn with Saturn in Capricorn, and that's exactly what we have over here. Saturn conjunct Moon in Capricorn. By the way, look at all these greens. We have 7 planets in the Earth signs. Oh, no, 6. Sorry, Mars is not in Capricorn anymore, but 6. It's still at least half of the planets are in Earth signs, so a lot of Earth influence. We're looking at the Moon, and Saturn gives you that idealistic feel, and it's in Capricorn, so very goal-oriented, all worried and concerned about the obligations that you have. But keep in mind, I shouldn't say but, I should say and keep in mind that it's a trine. That conjunction trines Uranus over in an Earth sign as well of Taurus. Uranus is about unexpected change, so there could be Saturn brings up obstacles and Uranus brings about change. That could be the same kind of thing. It could be changes in your responsibilities and changes in the way that you carry out your responsibilities and obligations. We also have down here, and I have to bring this up, is another conjunction. I have to bring it up because in the DreamBot clearly spells this out. In fact, the more significant of the two is this. It's the Sun conjunct Mercury and in Virgo, and this has now a lot of astrologers are talking about that conjunction isn't happening, or that pure conjunction isn't happening until I believe Thursday or Friday this week, later on in the week. But the influence is there, and it's clearly showing up in the dreams. That's I guess a nice segue to talk about the dreams. And what does that have to do with anything? Well, Mercury and the Sun together is about communication and thinking, and all that's going to be crystal clear, but it's going to be about the details because it's in Virgo. Let's look at the DreamBot. This is the collective dreams. There's a caution away from trying to read this yourself already, because we've divided up into 2 different memes, and the red meme is the first one that I'd like to talk about. Is as follows: Paul, controlling, try, manage, object, and label. Label. I think I put this thing out, but I'm not going to change it, obviously. We'll just go with it. But label should be more of communication, which is the blue arrows. Look at all that communication. Why do I have Paul? Paul is a double meaning here. And Paul, if you look in the Bible, I'm not a biblical scholar, but apparently I believe he has been attributed 13 of the 27 books in the New Testament. And so here he was wanting to persecute the disciples, apparently on his way to go persecute them. I might have this wrong, so I apologize if it's incorrect, but he's on his way to go persecute the disciples, and then boom, gets a flash of Jesus or an image, and he goes blind, and then gets his vision back, and then starts writing a bunch of books, and then starting the whole theology of well, probably Catholicism and Protestantism. Again, I'm not a religious scholar, so I probably just went way too far in there. But anyway, Paul wrote books of the Bible. That's communication. And he also started like a tradition, a religion, a framework. And so that's very idealistic. That's the Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn kind of a thing. It's idealism. And it's goal oriented. So, so anyway, that's why I have red. Red in there is the goat side of this part or piece, and then the blue arrow is all the communication. So Paul, I'll leave the segmented arrows for the end. So Paul, messenger, notified, believe, class, standing, message, perceive, comments. And then the segmented squares are more of violent behaviors that are also ways of communication. Gun, mad, hit, and club. Club being the verb in this case. And I think that this might actually, if I go back to the astrology, this might be predicting this on Thursday, Friday. This Sun and Mercury conjunct is going to get closer to, if not in a trine with, Mars in Aquarius, and Mars being the fighter. I think that's what we're starting to already see come through in the DreamBot. But nonetheless, that's what we're working on now. So the influence is twofold. We've got the two conjunctions, and we're out there doing our work, doing our obligations, doing what we're responsible for, but we also have a strong ability to be able to communicate, express, and deeply think about details and all that. There's some tricky things here, so hang on. We're going to talk about how to ride those energies after this. Okay, so how do we handle the Capricorn and the Mercury and these conjunctions? Basically, you can see the frustrations. You can imagine a frustration of a goal-oriented person, such as a Capricorn, your typical Capricorn, and with Uranus changing everything up. But it's a trine position, so things are going to be feeling more beneficial change. So here's how I think this might play out. We've got to back things up because Capricorns and goal-oriented people tend to get engrossed in their work. And so my suggestion is to listen and watch and deeply observe the way that you are expressing yourself, the way that you're communicating, and those words will give you clues as to the changes that Uranus and Saturn, that trine, is making in your obligations and responsibilities. So if you kind of hear your frustrations coming out, maybe communicating with someone else, or maybe you're passive aggressively kind of, I don't have any examples, beating on a desk, for example, I don't know. But you're frustrated. Watch that frustration. Don't be so easy to, use the word should. I shouldn't be hitting the desk, or I shouldn't be frustrated. But rather, notice that frustration and be happy for it, because it could be giving you clues as to what Uranus is changing in your obligations. And some of these obligations, if the obstacle, thinking Saturn, if the obstacle is too big that's changing your responsibilities, then maybe this is a obligation that should be going away, or that will be going away soon. So, all right. Oh, and let's see. And we have, there's our picture. Capricorn prevails. We have those two astrological alignments today, and it's going to be able to get you to higher ground if you know how to use this. If you know how to watch your communication, will give you clues, and your deep thinking and your thinking about details is going to give you clues about what to do. All right, so let's talk about The experiment on Friday was that we're going to see whether or not the collective dreams can predict the severity of a tragedy. Like Hurricane Florence was coming in, and at the beginning of the week it was a category 4, and all hell is going to break loose. And sure enough, it starts to wind down to a category 1, wind down. And that's not completely down. That's a devastating hurricane, possibly. But nonetheless, it wasn't as big as it said it was going to be. Now, here's the problem. So anyway, the prediction was that it was the Hurricane Florence, apparently, according to the dreams, was going to be more of a inconvenience than a decimation. Now, let's look at the results. Those two words are very subjective, and that's the problem that we're going to have. Yes, we had fatalities. I think the count was, I believe, 15, maybe 15 to 18. While that may not sound like a lot, it's death, and that's destruction. There was a lot of destruction that happened. Now, in the same regard, was it as much destruction as was predicted? Probably not. And we're saying, you heard words from the New York Times briefing that well, now it's a tropical depression, apparently. It is the most severe and most dangerous at this point, and they're thinking about flash flooding and whatnot. But the point of this is the inconvenience part of the hurricane really came to light, and you could see this in all of the videos that I watched. I didn't watch a lot, but all the videos that I watched were people having to relocate. They were some boats were helping out, some trucks were getting stopped. We're trying to call for help, and we're transporting meals, and these are the kinds of things that I was seeing. So yes, kind of devastating, but much more of an inconvenience. People having to leave their homes, probably going to have to maybe leave their home for good, black mold taking over or whatever else. So in my mind, even though there was destruction and decimation, I wouldn't say that it was wide sweeping. I don't know. It wasn't a clear winner on this experiment. I'll put it that way. I can see both sides of this, but I think the flavor of the dreams came through. Although that's not going to cut it in science. So who knows? I think it was a good experiment. And we'll maybe do some more quantitative kind of things, put some numbers to it next time. And I love little experiments like this. It was just really interesting to see. So anyway, you know now how to handle today's energies. You're the little Capricorn that's jumping to higher ground. And we're going to use this by watching your communication today, watching your frustrations, watching your obstacles. See the obstacles, and it should be more of in a positive light with that trine to Uranus. Uranus really likes to shake things up. You have a wonderful Monday. We're the National Dream Center, healing the collective psyche, one mind at a time. Have a great one.